All right, 1 2 1 2 in the place to be. What's up, everybody? How y'all doing out there? I am Frank Red, and this is In the Dungeon Show. Another edition. I don't want to tell. Well, you can see on the screen. If you look at how many shows we've done, it's been amazing. And I was reflecting on that past couple of days and just saying, "Wow!" I want to, off the top, thank everybody for supporting me, supporting the show. It is truly an honor to do what I do, and it's literally one step in front of the other. You know, you hear that it's like climbing a mountain. You know, you see this big monstrous mountain, and you say to yourself, "There's no way I can climb it." And you can climb it. You just got to start off. You have to do it. You have to stop thinking about it and actually do it. So I feel very fortunate to have the opportunity to live out one of my passions, which is talking about sports and talking about the intersections of sports and music and hip hop and society. I also love the opportunity to meet people and learn about you and hopefully gain some of your knowledge and on occasion have you maybe pick up some nuggets or morsels of information regarding sport, but more importantly, that's our lives, man. It'd be awesome if we could live forever, but that is not the case. So to share this time in a diversionary way with people who I dig and who kind of vibe the same way that I vibe sometimes, I really, really enjoy it. And I want to say thank you again. With that said, this is the In the Dungeon Show. My name is Frank Red, and I was thinking this afternoon while I was preparing the show, it's like, well, I got to do better. So I'm going to promote the show. I'm horrible at promoting, but I'm going to try. Hit the like and subscribe button. If you like the show, then subscribe to it. If you like it, then hit the like button. One of the things that I have noticed over the past 2-3 weeks, people are checking the show out there. You know, they're liking it, and that's all good. The subscription numbers are not moving as fast for whatever reason, and sometimes it's a slow ride. I don't necessarily have a problem with that, but if you're enjoying the show and you like it, then subscribe, because you get the notifications at that point. You find out when I'm going to do a show. Every now and then I'll step out there and jump on when I'm not scheduled to do so. So there you go. With that said, as I was putting the show together, I was thinking to myself about my history in radio. And I always said, the best shows that I do are the ones when there aren't like glaring things to talk about. Because you got to go, you got to dig, you got to create those topics. You got to get in between the lines, unlift the veneer. There's always something to talk about. And I said to myself, Red, you're going to have a great show tonight, because I have so much to talk about in and around sports, but the intersection of sports also. And I'm interested in getting your comments on some of the things that I talk about. And if you want to raise and offer something to the program that I haven't touched on, then feel free to speak your piece in the chat section. I didn't write it down, but now I remember again. First and foremost, I want to give my condolences to Klay Thompson. He lost his dog. I guess Rocco passed. Learned about that a couple of days ago. At least it was in the media. Hopefully, I'm not fabricating something that's not true. But I think his dog did pass at the age of 13. And I learned a lot about people who have animals, because I don't have any. You know, I don't have the space. I don't know if I could do justice by a animal, a companion that I was supposed to take care of. But that relationship between Klay and Rocco was close. And I know he's going through it right now, so I want to send out my condolences to him. And I'm sure you do as well. With that said, I wasn't on that level, but last night, when the Knicks got whacked, 125-108, and I kind of laughed at it 15, 20 minutes later, but I was sad. You know, the little 7-8-year-old kid in me that discovered the Knicks, Started to craft some of my idols: Walt Clyde Frazier, Earl Monroe, Bill Bradley. That's when I fell in love with this team. And to see them get so close to playing in the finals, and then going out and putting forth that effort. As a grown man, I was really sad. And why was I sad? I was sad because that's not how the Knicks that I envision play. And as I bring it back to a basketball issue now, my antennas went from my emotions went from being sad to all of a sudden reverting back to the student of the game that I am, the coach, the player, so on and so forth. And I was disappointed, because it's not that Indiana wasn't supposed to win, because they weren't supposed to win. They were at home. They had outplayed the Knicks throughout the series. But I wanted the Knicks to put forth their best effort, and they didn't do that. I remember when I started coaching over 20 years ago, because I've had excellent coaching. One of the things that my high school coach and my college coach always taught us from the start, my JV coach, when a guard drives to the basket or shoots the ball, the opposite guard automatically has to go to the middle of the court to protect from the fast breaks. How many times last night did the Knicks miss a shot and Indiana score on the other end off of a rebound? How many times did that happen? They got at least 8 to 10 points off of that play alone. Probably more. They scored 4 to 6 points off of made baskets and getting layups on the other end. That's unacceptable. That was just god awful. And it's the players on the court, but that's preparation. That's preparation. It's not like the coaches haven't acknowledged that, because they have. But who's holding them accountable? That's hard for Knicks fans to watch and accept, because that has nothing to do with who's better. That has everything to do with fundamental basketball that you teach kids when they're in middle school. If your guard mate drives, opposite guard gets back. If you have a system where the small forward gets back, then that person gets back. But somebody has to protect the house. I don't know how many times last night the Knicks didn't do that. That was very, very disappointing to me. They have some challenges in that lineup also. If you just run it back as is, it's going to be deflating to Knicks fans. Maybe that's what they have to do, but I don't have a lot of confidence that that team, as currently constituted, can win a championship. How? Based on what we've seen. They're not good defensively. They're not good enough defensively, and they need more pieces. When I see Jalen Brunson, I think of Stephen Curry. When Stephen Curry was really young, before he started winning championships, he was not the best defensive player. But I'll tell you this, during the championship run, Stephen Curry, in my opinion, was an above average defender. Not the best, but he fought on screens. He got in the weight room. He rebuilt his body. Steph Curry is not a piece of fly paper out there. Even at 37, I watched him this year. He's out there really hitting guys on screens, chasing guys around. Jalen Brunson, as much as we love him, as much as he is a quintessential New York Knick, he has to do better. Cat Towns, he has to play better mentally. Physically, I don't know if he can. He's not a good defender. It's hard to win championships when your center is not good defensively. It's almost impossible. So there's a lot of things that the Knicks are thinking about at this point. Do they have to go get somebody? You know, do they accept this is their team? They've given up so much to get Mikal Bridges. And I think we all can see now at the highest level, Mikal Bridges is a good player. Probably a very good player. One of the best two-way players. But he's not a difference maker. He's not. Because offensively, his game is solid but limited. OG Anunoby basically does a lot of the same things that Mikal does offensively. But he makes $212 million. No one's really going to trade for him. I can't see it happening. So the Knicks are stuck. I'll get into a little bit more with the Knicks. And I think that there is a Golden State Warrior connection. Because the Warriors have a chip in Jonathan Kuminga. The Knicks might take a step back, but maybe there's a place where they think that they got to get younger, more dynamic. They got to get more athletic. And maybe Jonathan Kuminga is a player that they would take a look at. From the Warriors' perspective, if you have a Mikal Bridges in the fold, I mean, he's a quintessential Steve Kerr type of player. You know, but that would mean that they did not go out and get DeAnthony Milton, which I think they still are interested in getting into that business. Mikal can play the 2 or the 3. Still, the Warriors have to go out and get a free agent center. We can throw some names out there and talk about that as well. But number one on the chalkboard for everybody is Giannis. But there's only one Giannis. And there's no guarantee that he's even going to leave Milwaukee. But if he does, everybody on the planet wants him. How do you get that done? So we can talk about that. The NBA Finals, Indiana Pacers versus the OKC Thunder. People think it's going to be a cakewalk for OKC. I don't think so. I think OKC is clearly the favorite. They won 68 games this year. They are a better defensive team. There's no doubt about that. But this is about matchups. This is about matchups. Finally, we get somebody who I think can match wits with Shai Alexander. Tyrese Halliburton is legit 6'6". Shai is 6'6". Two of the premier young guards in the NBA. And I'm going to say this. Whomever wins that matchup is going to go a long way in determining if their team cuts the Nets down and wins this year's NBA championship. Siakam is turning out to be a beast. He was the Eastern Conference Champions MVP. And I think back to what? Last February, the Knicks could have had Pascal Siakam. If they wanted him, they could have had him. Remember when those discussions were happening before he got traded to Indiana? It was pretty much Andrew Wiggins and a first-round pick for Siakam. Now, maybe people in the Warriors organizations would disagree and say, Red, you're off. But I think the framework was there to get a trade done. I don't think the Warriors want to do it. Siakam has actually played better than most people thought that he would play. He's not the quintessential number one option, but he is a guy who you can go to and strike gold. I've been very impressed with Pascal Siakam. He's played really, really well. So while I would say OKC is the favorite, I think it's going at least 6 games, and it would not surprise me at the end of the day if the Indiana Pacers won this year's NBA title. Because I think they're equal to OKC on offense. I would give the coaching edge to Rick Carlisle. And Indiana's bench, I think they got more there than people give them credit for. I'm looking for maybe a guy like Ben Mathurin to play very well in the finals. He's been skittish, but I think he's going to play well in the finals. I also think that Obi Toppin has an opportunity in a racehorse up and down type of game to really shine. So networks are not going to be happy. They're not going to make a lot of money. If you ask the average fan, to name 3 players on both teams, they probably can't do it. But for all those who thinks that small market teams don't have a chance to win, Exhibit A, you do have a chance to win. It's been proven this year. So we'll see what happens. It's not must-see TV for me. I will watch it, but it's not like me clamoring to get in front of the television to make the opening tip. I'm a basketball lover, so I'm sure I'll watch it. But OKC versus Indiana is for the basketball fans, not people who like events, because maybe some stars will emerge, but right now, there's not a lot of stars that people really know about. We know about them because we follow basketball. It's going to be interesting to see what the ratings look like. I'm sure the networks are a little concerned about it. My name is Frank Red. This is the In the Dungeon Show. Hit the like and subscribe button. You got some comments. Feel free to put them in the chat. I got so many more topics I'm going to put out there, but right now I want to go out and get to the comments of some of the loyal supporters of the program. Put my glasses on so I can see, I can get it right. All right. The great Vicky says, "Hi, Frank. How are you doing tonight? Sorry about your Knicks. Hopefully the Knicks will trade for KD. Who do you think will win, OKC or the Pacers?" Vicky, I'm going to go with OKC, but would not surprise me if Indiana won. Would not. I don't really have strong convictions either way for this team because I don't think either team is a great team. The networks are selling OKC to us like hot dogs on Fifth Avenue, all right? Or the Times Square, 7th Avenue right there by the Garden. Man, they selling these hot dogs, telling us how great OKC is. And we're like, they're good. They're definitely good. Great? How can you be great when you go to 7 games with I'm not going to say disheveled, but less than 100 Denver Nuggets team? They almost lost to the Denver Nuggets. Vicky also says, "What's going on with the WNBA? So much drama." That's leadership, Vicky. That's leadership. They need to get that thing together. One of the things about David Stern that defined his career is no one had to think about who was in charge. David Stern was always in charge. Mark Jackson's talked about in videos, so many NBA players. When David Stern needed to talk to you, you needed to book a plane, all right? Schedule a flight to New York, Manhattan. I don't care where you were in the country. You had to come to his office. I think it's on Fifth Avenue. And sit down in front of him, and he will let you know what time it was. Doesn't matter if you were the biggest star or a role player. David Stern ran a tight ship. The WNBA, I know the woman when I see her, but I don't know her name, right? She needs to really put the hammer down. And establish protocol and decorum. I am even concerned about how much the coaches complain without being, what they've been fined. I know they don't make a lot of money. I get it. But they can get ejected. They need to stop because it's a beautiful game. I love it. I can comment on the WNBA because I actually watch the games. I'm actually a fan. To me, the star of the league this year has been the Golden State Valkyries. What Coach Nakase has done thus far, basically getting a bunch of women together for a couple of weeks and having them play unselfish basketball, winning games, is unbelievable. But that's not being talked about because of the drama that Vicky's talking about. Young Wes 79. What's up, brother? What's up, Frank? I'm late in this live stream. It's all good. I like to talk, right? So, you know, we got some time. You're here. You hit the like button, right? You subscribe to the show, right? You're talking the show up, right? That's all you can do. Have you seen the 7'1" Stanford prospect from France? I forgot his name. Yes. I actually coached him. I coached him 2 years ago. He was on the Pro-Am team, of which I am one of the coaches. And the point guard, his point guard brought him down. And he played like 5 or 6 games with us. Somebody knows his name, so they'll put it in the chat. I can't remember his name right now. At that time, he was pretty raw, but he was always a good offensive player. And he's legit 7'1". Got hurt a couple of times, but he could be a real player. He could be a real player. Not a great rebounder, not a great offensive rebounder, not a great defender either. What he can do is score. So if you got a second round pick, although they're talking now that he might have gotten a guarantee in the first round, because I think after the first or second day at the combine, he shut it down. So there are some teams out there, I think probably late in the first round, who really like him and maybe has given him a guarantee. If you have multiple picks, I could see that happening. But if you bring him in expecting him to be a finished product, then he's not a finished product. He's not. Defensively, he's not very good. But he can score. Very skilled. Vicky says, the Warriors also need a point guard for non-Steph minutes, second unit. Pods is not the answer. He's not the answer yet. Hopefully he's going to develop into the answer. But man, if I can sign DeAnthony Milton, I'm doing that at 12:01 at the start of free agency. Now, will I offer a DeAnthony Milton $10 million like last year? No, I will not. No, I won't. I will offer him the veterans exception. Whatever that veteran is, it's probably around $5 or $6 million. But not $10 million. I mean, coming off a tough injury like that. But I would love to have him on the team. He would give the Warriors so much flexibility. It really would. And maybe they could look at how they play the Jonathan Kuminga hand a little differently, because they would have a point guard to play alongside Stephen Curry. And that would be awesome. Yeah, Maxime Reynard is his name. Is he the French kid? Yeah, that's him. Maxime. Yep, that's him. Nice young man. Do you think the Warriors should trade for a first-round pick? These days, you can hit the jackpot in the draft in the first and second round. Absolutely. I was thinking about that a couple of hours ago. Brooklyn has 3 first-round picks in the first round. Joe Lacob in the past has bought picks. That feels like a Warrior play to me. Relationships matter so much in the NBA and in the professional sports, but especially in the NBA. So it's not unreal to think that Mike Dunleavy Jr. or somebody within the Warriors organization could pick the phone up and call Sean Marks and they get a deal done, especially if Brooklyn wants to potentially get into the Jonathan Kuminga business. I was thinking about this. Jonathan Kuminga to Brooklyn for Cam Johnson and a first-round pick on a sign and trade deal. Excuse me. There would be some other players also, because I think that that would have to be a sign and trade. I don't think that Kuminga would want to go there unless he knew he was going to get a bag. And that bag is going to be more than the $20 million that Cam Johnson is making. But it definitely could happen. Definitely could happen. Young West says, I've been watching games at Keys in San Francisco Pro-Am for over 30 years now. Have you ever been involved in that Pro-Am? Young West, that's what I'm talking about, dude. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So, I'm surprised you don't recognize this unattractive face. Yeah, no, that's where I've coached in the Pro-Am before. That's where Maxine played. Yeah, so I'm surprised. Vicky, you are hardcore. Vicky says 2 first-round picks. So you want a team at the bottom, right, trying to compete against the Knicks to give up 2 of their first-round picks and Cam Johnson for Jonathan Kuminga, a guy who has never started probably more than 30 games in a season? You hardcore. SGA, what's up? How you doing, brother? How am I doing? I am doing a lot better now. Last night after the Knicks lost to Indiana, I was sad for about 20 minutes. I was genuinely sad. I was like, come on, dude. You got to pay rent. You know, you got bills. How can you be sad? But it shows you how emotional we are about our teams. I was sad. And then I got over it. But yeah, more about the Knicks. If I'm Tom Thibodeau, I think Leon Rose probably wants to keep him. But if James Dolan, the owner of the Knicks, wants him out of there, he's going to get fired. You guys ever heard of Michael Malone? NBA champion, winning coach? Do you know where he's from? He's from Queens, New York. Yeah, son of Brendan Malone. You think he wouldn't want to coach the Knicks? His hometown team? In Manhattan? In the Garden? Again, I'm not one of these irate fans. Oh, fire Thibodeau. No, I'm not that guy. But what we saw on the court from the Knicks, forget about talent and missing and making shots. Fundamentally, they didn't play great fundamental basketball. They didn't. And that's a problem. So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out, because if they're going to bring this team back, 2 things got to happen. They got to play smarter. They got to be the best conditioned team in the NBA. They're not. And Thibodeau has to make a commitment to playing his bench. So there's a lot of work to do. And most coaches are stubborn. Most of them are, particularly if they've won. You know, so I'm hoping Thibodeau can kind of get the message and keep his job and make some adjustments. Because this is not a flippant statement away from getting back to the finals next year. It's not. They're going to be hunted like dogs next year. They got to get better internally and exteriorly. They got to get better. Positive Panda. What do you think about the 19-year-old from China, Hanson Yang? I saw him in I think he went to high school in Florida, right? I haven't seen him play. I've read a lot about him. People like him. Yeah, people says that, they're making some comparisons between him and Zach Edey, but he has a lot of potential. I guess there's a chance he could go back to China or maybe even go to college. They said that if he goes to college 1 year, he would really be in a position to show what he can do. Now he's kind of a flyer. I think they like him offensively. There's probably some risky general manager with a late first-round pick that might be willing to take him. But he's on the board. He's definitely on the board, no doubt. Young West says, yes, I knew, I recognized you. Okay. And some of the old school names you mentioned from the Pro-Am. Remember, oh my God, Bucky Chavez, great player. Gary Payton used to always be there. Oh yeah. Yeah, Bucky Chavez is, I mean, that whole family, come on, man. That whole family can play. I played a lot of years against those cats. I actually won a Pro-Am championship during my day. The Warriors need a center that is not afraid to bang. I totally agree. So who's on the board? I mean, who are we going to get, Vicky? Because it's not a deep cupboard. Daniel Gafford might be available. I don't know if he has the basketball IQ to run the Warriors offense. I don't know. He reminds me of a traditional center, which is what the Warriors generally don't vibe with. Brook Lopez, to me, is somebody who kind of fits the mold because Brook Lopez is not going to play 35 minutes a game. He's going to play 25 to 27 minutes a game. He's going to start games and he's maybe sometimes close games because Draymond's going to close a lot of games also, playing a small ball center. Regardless of what they say, the Warriors are not going to go away from playing small ball. They're not. What they're going to do is they're going to increase the time in which they play bigger lineups. That's what they're going to do. And it's going to be a survival of the fittest type of season for the Warriors because some of those young guys can play. Quentin Post, they're certainly not ready to give up on him. So he's going to get some minutes. I think Trayce Jackson-Davis is probably going to be traded. I think he is. I think he's going to be traded because if they do some transactions with his contract, as meager as it is, when you consider his talent level, he's valuable, man. Trayce Jackson-Davis could be a legitimate NBA player somewhere else. He's pretty good with the Warriors. If I'm him, if I'm talking to Trayce Jackson-Davis, if I'm his agent, if I'm somebody who cares about him, his game, we're in the gym shooting 300 to 500 free throws a day. You cannot be an NBA starter unless you are extraordinary at some other phase of the game and not shoot 70% from the free throw line. You can't. It's a turnover. If somebody fouls you, you got a layup, and they foul you, and you go to the line and make one free throw, or sometimes no free throw, that's a turnover. Can't happen. Young West says, Eddie House, yes, Rex Walters, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd, Gilbert Arenas, Curry, and a bunch of others stars in the SF Pro-Am. SF Pro-Am in the 90s was wild. Really good. And you missed a whole lot of names. Antonio Davis played. Jeremy Lin played. The Warriors used to actually bring their whole team over to play on Saturdays. And the best players in the league would play on Saturdays against the Warriors' young players. Tim Hardaway would play. I don't know if Mully played, but everybody else played. All their first-round picks. Yeah. The Bay Area Pro-Am used to be really, really good. For the past couple of years, it started to wane a little bit, and there's been this discussion of whether or not they should charge. They haven't wanted to do that. I'm kind of happy that they don't charge, because for essentially 2 months, people in the Bay Area, in San Francisco, and throughout the area get an opportunity to come and watch some of the best young players in the area. You know, when I played, most of all the players were D1 players, most of them. That's not the case now. But for free entertainment to see young boys and girls and grandparents and people who love basketball go and watch pretty high level basketball in the summer for free, pretty darn cool. So I'm supportive of it. My man Keys, what's up? It's always great to talk to you, brother. What's up, Frank? Knicks need to get a good two-way guard and trade Hart. He was a non-factor. Yeah, he didn't play his best basketball. I'm not overly concerned about Josh Hart. I thought that there would be a problem with Josh Hart starting. He's a marginal NBA starter. Marginal. But you tell me that Josh Hart's not one of the best third guards in the NBA? He is. The Knicks made their decision and they hedged their bets when they got rid of Dante DiVincenzo. Because Dante DiVincenzo was not only a shot taker, he was a shot maker. And he didn't do anything to damage his reputation this year as a member of the Minnesota Timberwolves, particularly in the playoffs. Dante's a bucket. And the Knicks missed that this year. They really did. Patrick Sheehan says, I live 3 blocks from Keyser. I want to go watch it, but never know when it is. Really? It's every day except Friday at 8 o'clock. I can't believe that. I can't believe you've been there forever. You haven't checked it out. And sometimes some of the best high school players play in it also. Storied history. Mr. Greenberg has run that league for probably, I don't know, maybe 40 plus years, before my time. But Maxine Raynard played. Stanford guys come in. The late Drew Gordon played in it. Drew Gooden played in it. Aaron Gordon played in it. Everybody plays in that league. Mackenzie McGinnis. I mean, all of the great players played in the Bay Area Pro-Am. I want to talk a little bit about OKC because there's this conversation that's been going around. Is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, not necessarily with Shai. I think people have kind of anointed him as a superstar. I don't know. I wouldn't put him there yet. Even though he's averaged over 30 a game, I wouldn't put him there yet. I think he doesn't have to win a championship, but he needs to show well in the finals. And then I think people will be willing to really totally give it up to him. Tyrese Halliburton, the same conversation. I mean, Jay Williams wants to call him a superstar. How can you be a superstar when you haven't won? How? If he wins a championship, imagine if Tyrese leads his team to a championship. He's taking a step up to that superstar category because they're not going to win unless he is playing extremely well. So I don't know what you guys think about that. I understand why the networks want to promote these guys because they got money to make. They have to show these broadcast partners that their product is worthy of all the billions that they're making. But you, as a fan and as a student of the game, as somebody watches it, you don't have those, variables to deal with to really hone in on what you see. You just watch the game. Keith says, I watched my first Valkyries game versus Liberty. I like the way they competed, but I hope we lose the rest of our games to get Juju. Yeah, well, here's the thing. This is Juju's sophomore year. Next year will be her junior year. I think to come out after your junior year, you have to have enough credits to graduate. I think that's the case. Am I wrong? I don't know. But Juju would be an absolute star. I'm telling you what's interesting. I want to talk tonight, and it kind of leads into Juju also. Remember when Cooper Flag went to Dallas? I mean, it was like yesterday. And everybody was talking about the NBA draft being rigged. And I don't want a fraudulent system. I don't. I want to think that everything's on the up and up, right? With that said, geography is important as it relates to your stars and potential stars. They want Juju in Los Angeles. Do I have a major problem with Juju going to the Sparks? No, I don't. I do not. She's going to build that franchise if she goes there. She's going to be box office. She's going to build a brand. She's going to raise the TV ratings in one of the largest markets. She's going to have her family support there. So it's more likely that she's going to make a smooth transition. I don't have a big problem with it. I have a problem with scoffing at the idea that something might not be quite right, because we're not dumb. With regards to Cooper Flag, there might have been maybe 2 or 3 other locations that he could have went to that would have been equally good for him than the Dallas Mavericks. He's in a perfect location in Dallas. Perfect. The geography works. The coaching staff works. The management works. I think he's in a perfect place. I'm sure every city feels the same way about that statement. What's wrong with our city? I'm not saying anything's wrong with your city. I'm just saying that geography matters. Now, while there are going to be 100 different talk shows this week talking about the issues that Zion Williamson is involved in, I'm not going to do it. What I will say, though, if you were to ask me to bet $10,000 on whether or not New Orleans was going to be a good fit for Zion, I would have said no way. It's too much trouble down there. For him, it is a wonderful city. I'm not knocking the city at all. But I think you got to have a certain mentality to go into that environment. Zion Williams would have been much better off in San Antonio. And I know you're like, well, Red, this is not a choose your location draft. I get it. But it's bad for business when you have your best stars going to places where the likelihood of them finding success is not good. So, once again, the legal process has to kind of play itself out. It sounds like money. This is a civil lawsuit. He's not been accused of, he has not been accused of any crimes. You know that there was a conversation between him and Jane Doe's folks before they went public with it. I did a little research before I came on. In the civil suit, they're asking for $18 to $50 million. That's all I'm gonna say about it. Geography matters. Vicky says Zion to the Warriors. Think about that for a second. It's interesting, Vicky, because as long as no criminal charges are attached to it, I think it could still potentially happen. The Bay Area is tough though. But as long as it's just a civil case and it kind of goes away, I think anything is possible. I don't think Jonathan Kuminga is all that excited about going to New Orleans. I don't think he is. Even with the money, I just don't think he is. So that was a downer. It was a downer for everybody involved. You don't want to think of anybody being victimized in the ways that Jane Doe said that she was. In the same breath, we've seen this time and time again with athletes that come into money who may or may not know the ways of the world. So I let the facts come out. I don't want to speculate on anything. I just know in the context of basketball, historically, geography has always mattered. One of the things that I am so excited about, I'm sure you are as well. Have you guys seen the previews of Curry Inc.? That's going to debut on CNBC on Wednesday at 6:30 Pacific time. They're probably going to show it a couple of times. But it's kind of a look behind the curtain into all things Stephen Curry. And I'm excited to see it because he's that dude. And I've never seen, let's think who's Jordan. When Jordan walks in the room, you know that Jordan's in the room. When Stephen Curry walks in the room, you know that he's in the room, but he's not like, look at me, I'm here. He finds a way to make everybody feel important, and he normalizes his presence in ways that we've never seen before. I've never seen a athlete of that stature, a celebrity of that stature, work so hard to be a normal person. We've never seen that before. And in this CNBC feature, Curry Inc., you're going to see all the things that he is associated with, all the brands, and how he is, I'm sure, as a parent, and all of those morsels that we never really see. Steve Kerr was in one of the promos, and he says the only other player that he has ever seen that equals the confidence level of Stephen Curry is Michael Jordan. And Kerr's seen everybody. So, I mean, that's an incredible statement to make. So I'm interested in seeing that. I don't know if you guys want to see that as well. I also wanted to talk about the San Francisco 49ers. And I'm not going to break down any tape. I'm not going to talk to you about a 6th-round offensive lineman's 40 time or how long, the linebacker's arms are. I'm not going to do any of that. What I'm going to say is if you read the tea leaves, that's all you got to do. The San Francisco 49ers, to me, have won the offseason in the NFL. I'm going to say they've done everything right. We don't know what their draft grade is going to be once they get on the field, but they had a plan when they went out and drafted players. First and second pick, they drafted defensive linemen. Williams out of Georgia, Atkins out of Texas, right? And then they went out and got Huff. On defense, they're going to be rock solid. They're going to be really good on defense. And they'll be better on offense. The only area that concerns me about the 49ers is wide receiver. The wide receiver position still concerns me. I don't know when Brandon Ayuk is coming back. They seem to think that he's He's going to come back. But I'm concerned about wide receiver. I'm concerned about the wide receiver position. Tight end, I think they're solid. Everything we've seen on tape from Christian McCaffrey, he looks fantastic. He looks totally healed. I think he's going to have a big year. And Purdy is going to be Purdy. Good, solid quarterback. Vicky says, the Warriors are so blessed to have Steph. Yes, they are. Kuminga and Moody for Zion and Trey. I forget his last name. But great three and small forward. Yeah, he's from Virginia. I don't think they want to give him up. But Vicky says, my feelings on the 49ers is I have to see the games. Yeah, I dig that. Like most people, I'm only on the tea leaves. When I look at the tea leaves and I look at the acquisitions, they've done a good job, Vicky. They really have. TG, yes, Frank. Glad you are on tonight. Legend. Wow. Come on. When I hear stuff like that, I laugh. I'm gonna tell you what I do though. I actually care about my listeners. I actually think that is, and I'm sure anybody who has ever had any type of success talking about sports, be it on radio or television, you would think that they care about their listeners also, unless you are a complete narcissist. But I really do. I do. It brings me joy and happiness. And TG, thank you for the kind words, man. I appreciate it. I was watching the UFL this weekend. If you're like a sports junkie and you want to, and you're bouncing around the television, let me tell you something. The UFL is really interesting. And I'm going to tell you why. Quietly, they're testing things out in this league to potentially inject into the NFL. One of the most fascinating things about the UFL is the live audio of the offensive coordinator calling plays to the quarterback and then having the quarterback regurgitate it to the team. It's interesting as hell. And it's shocking at the same time because there are some offensive coordinators who spit it out like they're talking a different language. And there are some offensive coordinators who sound like they don't have great fluency when they're reading. The same goes for the quarterback. Some of them can't either repeat the plays or they don't remember them. That's amazing to hear it in real time. We assumed that was the case in some instances, but to see it and hear it in real time is amazing. I wish the NFL would inject that. The other thing is, Acho was asking the backup quarterback, who wasn't even in the game, to articulate the play to him. I found that fascinating. Because I'm like, okay, so he's going to be a future offensive coordinator because the chances are they're not even going to get it in the game. And yet they know the plays backwards and frontwards. Or in some instances, they didn't really know the plays or they couldn't spit it out at the rate that you have to. I find that component of the UFL to be awesome. Check that out. TJ says, stop it, Frank. You are modest. I looked at your stats in college. Second in points, first in rebounds your last year. Give it up, bro. Wow, this internet is crazy, isn't it? This internet is crazy. Yeah, I was okay. I was all right. I was decent. Yeah. I'm gonna give you a funny story. I was on the internet today, kind of preparing for this show, and I was watching a clip of Timmy Hardaway, right? Tim Hard, and he was talking about his Warrior days, and he was talking about Chris Mullin, and he talked about, I don't know if it's true or not, but he goes, I remember watching Chris Mullin make 100 jump shots in a row. And it seems like hyperbole, but if you've ever seen Chris Mullin shoot, Chris Mullin was a pure shooter. Beautiful form. And maybe it was you, TJ. I don't know who brought it up, but I remember playing in a game against a team with 4 NBA players and losing by 1 point. And it was amazing that somebody from this show actually dug that up. And I was just watching this online, thinking about my history as an athlete. And I go, wow. I didn't make my first team until I was in 9th grade. And I only made the team because this guy knew me in the summer. So my ascension from 9th grade to 12th grade was pretty amazing. I give it all to my coaches, my coaches and my teammates. Nobody had more drive and heart than me. I was a physical player. But the coaches and the teammates that I had, they prepared me to have any success that I've had as an athlete. The only thing I could do is really work hard. So as a Knicks fan, when I watch guys playing the game who are far better than I ever was, not hustle, not boxed out, not understand that you got to get back in defensive transition, that really bothers me. Because that has nothing to do with how good you are. Nothing. And Dayball, the coach of OKC plays really hard on defense. They play extremely hard. And Indiana has a great system. And they got individuals that really meet the moment. TJ McConnell? You think TJ McConnell should be in the NBA? Know why he's in the NBA? Because he wants to be in the NBA. It means that much to him. He outplays every backup point guard in the NBA. And sometimes he outplays the starters on the opposing teams. It's amazing. Vicky says, tomorrow is my birthday. At least the Giants are playing. I like the UFL. Well, Vicky, I'm going to give you an early shout out. Happy birthday. Your knowledge about sports is pretty amazing. Don't be surprised if I reach out to you tomorrow and wish you happy birthday. I appreciate you. Joe Barragon says, hi. Hey, Frank, how are you doing? I'm fantastic, man. I am fantastic. I am extremely happy right now because I'm doing something I really like to do. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? Key says, I love watching that unique left-handed shot by Mullin. Growing up, nobody has come close. No, nobody. Feathery touch, soft. 3-time Big East Player of the Year. 3-time. When the Big East was the Big East, the best conference in all of college basketball. Every team that was any good had at least one pro on it, maybe more. Right on, Joel. I also wanted to kind of leads into my leads into my Cooper Flag comment about him being in Dallas. A lot of times fans are like, I don't like dynasties. I don't particularly have a problem with not having dynasties in the NBA, but dynasties are actually good for the NBA. Baseball, I don't think it matters. The NFL, it definitely doesn't matter. But in the NBA, it does matter. And it matters because there's so many players and teams. Well, there's a lot of football players as well. But the NBA has players that you can actually see and follow. You know, they don't have masks and uniforms on to the extent that football does. I think dynasties are good because you know the players, and it's basically brand building. And it's why this particular finals between Indiana and OKC will probably be one of the lowest rated in history. Real basketball fans probably don't care, but I'm saying, and that's fine, but I'm saying for the actual game, dynasties are really good. You have two sides of the equation being taken care of. You have the fans of the team that is supposed to win, and you have the other contingent of fans who want them to lose because they're tired of them winning. Apathy is not good. When you don't care who's gonna win, I'm gonna watch it. I don't really care. That's not what you want. You know, you want rooting entities on both teams to raise up the product. I also went to the movies this weekend. She said, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. I saw Mission Impossible, right? I saw it this week. And I'm going to say this. I thought G20 on Amazon Prime was better with Viola Davis. Tom Cruise, at this point, is probably too old to do any fighting scenes, you know? So when making Mission Impossible, it's not that they haven't done it in the past, but even now, I think it's even more. They lean on special effects and CGI, you know, to the point where it's just like, that's the foundation of the movie. Let's see how many outrageous scenes can we create in a studio. I don't mind some of that stuff, but no matter what the genre of movie, you still have to have a great story. One of the reasons why Daniel Craig, I think, has really rivaled Sean Connery as the greatest James Bond is because most of those James Bond movies with Daniel Craig, with the exception of the last one, had really well-written stories. The action sequences were fantastic. The acting was good. And they still had the gadgetry, all the things that we like, but the foundation of it was driven by a story and really good acting. And I actually get the sense that this Mission Impossible 8 was made at the same time that they made Mission Impossible 7, and they simply waited a year to release it. And I get it, economically, it makes all the sense in the world. But I don't think Tom Cruise should be doing Mission Impossible anymore. I don't think so. Maybe it's some elder statesman type character where they're introducing somebody new. But I think he's too old to really be the Ethan Hunt that we've come to like. Maybe you don't like Mission Impossible. I like it. This was not a great movie. Wasn't horrible, but wasn't a great movie. If you wait until it comes out on one of the cable outlets, you'll probably be pretty happy that you did. SGA says the Knicks played their hearts out and put 100% of their effort, and they are. No, they didn't. They played hard, but SGA, we're not going to praise that performance. Please don't do that. I love all the Tom Cruise movies. Really? Stop, man. Vicky says, I want to see the movie about the race car driver. Yeah, I want to see that too. SGA wants to talk about that. He says that movie called F1, Formula One. Yeah, but Brad Pitt, the previews have been excellent. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Keith says, I like the Niners' move so far, but we need another wide receiver or safety, I believe. Yeah, I mean, you're right. And I think that Lynch, Shanahan, and whomever else is making decisions thinks that they can probably get something done. Somebody last week on this show actually threw out Amari Cooper's name. And I hadn't thought about Amari Cooper, but he's a veteran who still has another year or two left. Very, very dependable wide receiver, smart guy. So I think the 49ers believe that they can go into the market after the noise calms down a little bit and get somebody who can help them. And I think that they will. But I think as they are currently constituted, they got a pretty darn good team going into camp. And it's not good for content creators who like to, gossip and talk about drama. But right now, on June 1st, the 49ers have very little drama concerning this team. Very little. I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing. They got their defensive guy in Robert Saleh back. Shanahan doesn't have to kind of worry about that. He needs to really focus on the offense. Allegedly, he won't be calling the plays. We'll see how long that lasts. But I like what the 49ers have done. I think they've done a phenomenal job. Vicky says, Cooper can catch and hold on to the ball. Yes. Obviously, there's a lot of weight on Ricky Pearsall. When I think of Ricky Pearsall going back to Arizona State, I've been watching him for a long time. He's a tough guy. But tough guys sometimes break down and get hurt. I want to see how durable he is. I want to see how durable he is because he's not a fast speed merchant type of guy. At the tail end of the year, last year, he had some good games and he caught the ball. He's going to have to emerge as a budding star. Now, they still have Jennings. It'd be interesting to see if Jennings starts this year coming up. Maybe he will. The movie F1 features some of the top Formula One drivers from Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, Max Verstappen, Sergio Perez, Oscar Piastri, Kevin Magnussen, and Yaki Tsunoda. Thank you for that. Ricky got hurt already? I didn't know that. Did he? I did not know that. Hopefully he'll be back. One basketball note I want to get out there because there's a little conversation around it. Jared Allen. Are Warrior fans excited about Jared Allen? I don't think Kuminga is going to Cleveland, but I think some type of three-way action in which the Warriors get Jarrett Allen and maybe another player. Does that excite you? He would be their starting center, and we would be out of the Draymond starting at center business. But he has some limitations. I mean, he probably helps their defense. He's probably smart enough, but he's not an outside shooter. He's been on teams that have literally fallen asleep in the playoffs, which is concerning to me. I don't know where the Warriors are going to go in the offseason with regards to Kuminga. I have no idea, but I'm excited about it. Free agency is going to start at the end of the month or at the start of July, I guess. So it's going to happen. They got to get better, but doesn't everybody? Keith says, how good will Flag end up being, you believe? I'm going to say better than Tom Chambers. Tom Chambers might be too distant in the past for some of you. I would say do your homework. Tom Chambers in the 90s was one of the best forwards in the league. 6'9", high-flying player who happened to be white, who would bang on you, was tough as hell, could score. Solid NBA player. Had a great career. I think Cooper Flag will be better than him, a multiple-time All-Star. I think Cooper Flag is going to be an All-Star. The one question mark that needs to be answered about Cooper Flag is, can he hit the three consistently? Because today's game necessitates that some of it is easy for you. Everything can't be tough. Right now, basketball is pretty hard for Cooper, the way that he plays. He draws contacts. There's a lot of shooting in close quarters where he's being touched, a lot of banging. The game has to get easier for him. He has to be able to be a part of the swing action, catch it from beyond the three and knock it down. I believe in Cooper. I think it's going to be good, but Tom Chambers is a player that comes to mind, which should get Dallas excited because Tom Chambers was a hell of a player. Not a perennial All-Star, but had a very good NBA player. Keith, what do you think of my comparison? Yes, if that other player is a good 3 and D wing or point guard. Are you a big fan of Space Jam 1, 2? Nah, man, I didn't watch it, that stuff. Not that it's not good, SGA. I don't know. I didn't. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Space Jam. I've never seen it. Saw highlights of it. Saw Mike, and I certainly didn't watch Space Jam 2. Nah. I like Blue Chips with Shaq and Penny Hardaway. Thoughts on Paige Beckers? I love Paige Beckers. Paige Beckers is my second favorite player third. My 3 favorite players in the WNBA right now: Sabrina Ionescu, number 1. Natasha Cloud is my second new favorite player, although she's been around for a long time. And Paige Beckers. And she's hurt right now. She's in concussion protocol. I loved how she's come out and done wonders for Dallas. They can't win any games, but it's not because of her. I love Paige Beckers. Her mid-range game, she reminds me of and I put this in a tweet. She reminds me of a right-handed Kenny Anderson of Georgia Tech Malloy fame. You know, probably a little too long in the tooth for you guys to remember, but Kenny Anderson was incredible, great mid-range player. She also, Paige Beckers kind of plays offensively like Joe Dumars a little bit. You know, look up Joe Dumars. Her mid-range game is lethal. And she can shoot the three. Paige Beckers is a bucket. The only problem that I see with Paige Beckers is she's not greedy. She's not greedy. And they need her to be a little more greedy. Is Charles Oakley still banned from MSG? And if so, why? Well, I don't think he's banned. I mean, if somebody gave him a ticket, or if he bought a ticket, I think he could go in there. I think he has an ongoing lawsuit with James Dolan, the owner. I think he's standing on principle until that thing is cleared up. I don't think he wants to go, but it's a bad look all the way around, man. Oak is one of the pillars of the new generational Knicks, and to have strife with management that can't be resolved when your owner is worth what, $10 billion? I mean, come on, man. You know, we got to get past that. I'm a really, really big Oakley fan. Yes, the Lynx are 7-0. Yes, they are. And they are, they're going to be right there challenging for a championship again. They are well coached by Miller. And they got multiple studs. Multiple. Collier. The young lady from Notre Dame who's a bucket. They got a good team. And they're just so well coached. They actually play a lot like the Warriors. Vicky says, do you ever see the football movie about Call the Program about college football? Off of that description, I don't quite know which one you're talking about, but I probably have seen it. Not quite sure. Jim Dolan's the biggest idiot in the NBA. You know what? You know, SCA, people like call people, people will reference others and call them names and stuff. I don't do that stuff, man. I don't do that. Most of the time, when someone is standing right in front of you, probably wouldn't do it. So if I wouldn't do it if he was in front of me, I don't know James Dolan. I don't know him. Has he done things that I don't like? Absolutely. But I don't know him. Who was the best two-sport athlete you played against? Two-sport? Unless I had more context, I would have to say Jordan. You know? I mean, Jordan did play minor league baseball. And I played against Michael Jordan a couple of times. So, it's Michael Jordan. I actually played both sports at Fordham also. I played basketball and I played football. The only difference is when Fordham was becoming kind of an Ivy League football program, they were rebuilding the program, I couldn't play all the time because they wasn't D1. But I probably would have played multiple years. But in case I got hurt playing football, that would have affected my basketball scholarship. So I could only play when I wasn't playing basketball anymore. But I loved it. The Knicks fan was banned from Madison Square Garden for wearing a T-shirt that read, "Ban Dolan." The fan was removed by security after they deemed the shirt to be offensive back in March 28th, 2025. I get it. I don't want to wear t-shirts to bring attention to myself. I don't want to do that. Should you have the right to do it? Probably. But write him a letter. What needs to happen for the Pacers to pull off an upset, Frank? Okay. They got to neutralize Shea and put the onus on somebody else to be the number one option. I think that they can do that. They need to outplay OKC's bench. So guys like TJ McConnell, Matherin, the other forward who played at Indiana, who they got from Miami, who hit three the last game, he needs to play well. So the Indiana bench needs to step up and play as well as OKC's bench, and you need to neutralize Shea. If they can do those things, I think Indiana has a chance, because the only guy on OKC who's ever won anything, you can make that a similar conversation around Indiana. Siakam's won a championship. Alex Caruso's won a championship. So I'm not rooting for anybody. I'm not. But I think if you neutralize Shea, Indiana has a chance. OKC's defense overall is better on the exterior and on the interior for obvious reasons. The guy who I'm looking at to break out as a star is Chet Holmgren. I've been very, very impressed with Chet. I've said from the inception of Chet Holmgren coming into the NBA, this is a tough guy, physical player who happens to be skinny. He is not a soft, skinny guy. This guy balls out, which is why I think everybody loves him. And as a result, he gets hurt. His body will fail him on occasion because he's kind of skin and bones. But Chet Holmgren, he's probably at least 1 year, maybe a year and a half ahead of schedule. Why can't Chet make the All-Star team next year? No, yes, he can. They got 3 guys on that team that should not surprise any of us if they own All-Star team. Obviously, Shea, Jay Williams, and Chet Holmgren. They're very talented. But in championships, the most talented team doesn't always win. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. But they're really good. They really are. For the first time, the 49ers are not seen as the favorite in the division. They're not even considered to be in the top 2. Before their offseason, I don't think that was a ridiculous conclusion for somebody to make. But with the offseason that the 49ers have had, I think they should be picked no lower than 2 and maybe even 1. Finally, they have all of their pieces. So I can't wait till football season starts. I'm really looking forward to it. Another thing I wanted to talk about was what appears to be a strong trend, maybe just a change in philosophy, but you're seeing more and more college players who have eligibility staying in college because they're going to make more money in college than they would make in the NBA as rookies. I mean, you only have 30 teams in the NBA. Only 30 players can be drafted in the first round. Why not go to college and stack some millions? For Florida, who's the kid going to make? They think somebody's going to make about $6 million next year at Florida. Boogie Flag's going to go from Arkansas to Florida. He's going to make some money. The other guard, can't think of his name right now, who is going, an Asian cat who's going from Princeton to Florida. Florida has a lot of money. They're paying these cats millions of dollars. It is amazing. as a college basketball fan, what this says is that the ratings are going to go up. It almost takes you back to the 80s and the early 90s. College basketball is going to be the thing next year. St. John's is loaded. Michigan. These guys are like, we can have agents as college players. We can make millions. Why would I go and get cut on an NBA team and be in the G League for a year? From the NBA's perspective, they're like, they don't have a problem with it because theoretically the guys that come out of college will be ready to play. So money is impacting college sports in ways that we have not even, that we've never seen before. The young lady, I can't think of her name now, the female softball player who played at Stanford last year, allegedly got $1 million to go to Texas Tech to be on the women's softball team and as a pitcher. And oh, by the way, they're in the World Series now. Tournament. They haven't found the final two, but Texas Tech is balling, and allegedly she left Stanford to go to Texas Tech for $1 million to play softball, women's softball. Eddie says they have no O-line still. At least it's still suspect. Yeah, Eddie, I hear that a lot, and I'm not dialed in enough on the tape to draw a definitive conclusion about the offensive line. I'm not. I didn't play offensive line. I played defensive line. And what I will tell you is there's no perfect football teams out there. What we do know, and I think you would concur with this, is that they're going to be good on defense. They're going to fly around and be good on defense. The other kid they just signed, he's not a kid, the other player they just signed, young man, Surratt, who was a former quarterback at North Carolina. I watched him play in college. Played safety, I believe, safety, middle linebacker. Saleh knows him because he signed him when he was the head coach of the Jets, and the 49ers just acquired him. He's going to be a good player. So while they might be a little light on the offensive line, I don't know how that's going to affect their offense. They're going to be more competitive than they were last year. Vicky says, do you think that the money will keep players in college? Absolutely. Yes. Vicky, I think that the idea of graduating from college is something that players like to envision. Yeah. So if you can be among your friends, play high-level basketball or football, go to class if you're actually interested in learning, and make millions of dollars in NIL money? SGA, thank you. Let me read it from the top. It goes, former Stanford softball player Najari Kanadi received $1 million NIL deal to transfer to Texas Tech. Yeah, I remember it last year. The Red Raiders' win was powered by pitcher Najari Kanadi, a transfer from Stanford. Yeah, that's what I said. Yeah, man. Who knew? But it's big time business. And to see these young athletes take advantage of it is something that I am totally supportive of. So good for them. All right. Lastly, I want to big up Kate Martin, the player on the Valkyries that they acquired from the Las Vegas Aces. She was a darling in Las Vegas. The fan base here loves her. I hate to objectify her, but I think there's something about her personally that fans love. I mean, she could literally, throw the ball out of bounds and people would clap. I like her because she shows a lot of grit. She's a tough young lady who found a way to get drafted in the second round to make the Aces last the entire season. And now she has an opportunity to really build a career as a member of the Valkyries. And for the first time this year, she looked comfortable in a game. She had 14 points in the first half, looked like a real player. She was called for traveling on a three-point shot that she made late in the game, which I don't think was a travel. She was highly upset by that. But hopefully this is going to turn her season around. It's off to a slow start, but I'm happy for Kate Martin. Keys says, I hope Miles Turner outplays OKC's bigs and makes it a great series, like seeing the bigs get their touch. Yeah, you know what, Keys? I had high hopes for Miles Turner. The Lakers allegedly are interested in him, but he played horrible against the Knicks. Cat walked him up and down the court. And it was really a poor showing for somebody with his ability and his aspirations. So hopefully he does play better. They need him to play well to beat OKC. Vicky says, thanks, Frank, for a great show. You are the bomb of sports talk. Wow. Puts a smile on my face. Thank you for supporting me. Everybody else, I really appreciate y'all. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the show in the dungeon so we can reach our goal of securing 1,000 subscribers so I can start having some guests on the show. All right? Let me do my thing and get out of here. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done nothing. Everybody have a great start to your week. And the NBA final starts on Thursdays. Who knows? I might make an appearance. Who knows? Until then, you all take care. Good